Well, I miss that. And I miss pictures of just your food and your kids and your vacations. I miss that kind of stuff. Now all of a sudden it's become like, I want to tell you what I don't like. And we become offended. We get so easily offended. And most of ourselves, we find ourselves offended, annoyed, bothered, hurt by the most small and insignificant things in life. Like, what's the last thing? Seriously, like I want someone to answer. What's the last thing that offended you? And it's okay. Like, let it out. I just want to talk about it. I'm not going to sing you. Hey, has anyone ever been offended by driving? Yeah, driving. Come on now. See, even TJ said that. Who else? You got cut off at Chick-fil-A? Man. Yeah. Well, sometimes people are better after they've had their chicken. I know yesterday my wife was a little offended. We went to a Chick-fil-A in another town, and we looked at ourselves, and we found ourselves saying this. We looked at ourselves and like, this is nowhere like Joplin's Chick-fil-A. They don't even have it together. And it was like, we waited like 5 minutes instead of like 45 seconds. And we're just looking at each other. We're like, I don't even know if this food is worth it now. We just looked at each other so offended, so frustrated. I mean, seriously, do you ever find yourself, like, we really step back and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so guilty of first world problems. Like, you ever been offended by your alarm clock? Yeah. Do you know what happened last night? Can I just preach a little bit about last night, Julie? It's not you. She's like, okay. Last night, I lost it. And it was almost like God was like, I was kind of thinking, I wanted to have like a perfect example, a perfect just moment, a preaching moment, like to share about, and I just didn't have it. And it happened, like ask and you shall receive. So like yesterday, we went, and God bless her, she was so good all day. You know who I'm talking about already, don't you? Who is it? Bella. Hold that. It's driving me nuts. Bella. And for all you new people that don't know, Bella is my middle child. And if you have a middle child, you know where I'm going with already. I have a middle child. And we're coming home from a volleyball tournament. And it was an early day. We were up at like 5:30. And in the car by 6, on the road. Libby had to be on the court at 7:30. And then we were there for 11 hours. And the girls were so good. They really were. I got to give them credit for that. And then we get in the car to go home. We get in the van. So we have a van. And before we left, Julie was like, all right, we're going to be in the car for a while, so I want you to grab some movies. And she tells them, she warns them, grab movies that you want because we're going to be in the car for a while. Okay, well, we'll grab some movies we want. Okay. And we get in the car last night, and we just don't have the movies for them. They also have their own iPads with headphones. And last night, I just lost it. I just lost it. Bella is in the back row of the van, and she's like, hey, can you give me some iPhone internet back here? And I said, what? She said, I need some iPhone internet. I said, why? I said, you have a movie on. You're watching a movie. She goes, I don't like that movie. And I just had this moment where I'm like, Like, I am guilty now. Not Bella. I am guilty. And she looked at me, and when I wouldn't give her iPhone internet because she didn't want to watch the movie that was playing in the van as we traveled 70 miles an hour down the road, after she had Chick-fil-A that she had to wait 5 minutes for instead of 45 seconds for, I just lost it. And I looked at that, and I said, Because you know what she said? Do you know what she said? This isn't fair. I pulled over in the right lane. I said, I'm pulling this over. I am pulling this over. And Julie's like, Shane. And then this is what I said, Roger. I said, I'm about to take you to Mexico, girl, and I'm going to show you what's fair. Honest to God, the words that came out of my mouth. So now my daughter isn't going out of the love and compassion for the children of Mexico. She's learning to learn how much she sucks. I'm just calling it the way it, I was just so frustrated. I'm like, and I'm the guilty one, not her. Like, we're the ones that are like, oh, we love you. Take the iPad. Oh, we love you. Get movies. Here's Chick-fil-A. And then she says to Libby, who's sitting in front of her, Bella has a whole third row to herself. And Libby, who'd been playing for 12 hours, wants to lean back. And she goes, Libby, don't you lean back on me. I lost it. I said, you can scoot to the middle of the road. You can get on the roof of the car for all I care. Tell me it's not fair. I'm driving up here. I got a wife who can't see. We just waited 5 minutes for Chick-fil-A. You tell me what's fair. So frustrated. You've been there, haven't you? Have you been there? And I was most mad at myself, not my child, because we created this monster. I'm just going to look at the boy that dates her someday and go, good luck. When you don't like it, blame her mom. Traffic. You've heard me talk about my traffic stories. You've heard that. Or what about, what are some other things that offend you? Have you ever, put something out on Facebook or Twitter or TikTok or whatever? If you're a grown person with a TikTok, if you are over 18 and you have a TikTok, you're a pervert or something. Something's wrong with you. There's no reason for anyone over 18 to have a TikTok, knick-knock, knick-knack, paddywhack, give a dog. There's just no reason, nothing. Nothing. Snapchat falls into that. Seriously, why does a grown man need something that makes something disappear in no. You got to look at that and go, man, I need to avoid snares. I need to avoid traps. I need to avoid trials. But I like it for the videos. Shut up. It's like saying you read Playboy for the articles. Come on, man. You're better than that. Here we go. Sorry, that had nothing to do with my point. But have you ever put something on social media and you don't get the responses that you like? Or maybe you see someone else put something out similar and they got likes or they got comments, and all of a sudden you become offended. What did I do? What did I do? Why don't they like me? What's going on out there? Or do you ever text somebody and they don't, you know that they read it because it says read, and they don't text back, and all of a sudden you start thinking the worst? Or you see the bubbles, the bubbles? The text bubbles are there, and you're like, I know they saw it, and they started to respond, but they're not responding. What's going on? But we still don't have the audacity to call. And then you call and they don't answer. Oh, now they're screening. What's going on? Something's going on. Something happens. There's things that cause offenses in our life, and we live in the age of perpetual offense. We are so quick to be offended. We are so quick to judge. We are so quick to condemn. We are so quick to call foul. And when someone offends us, man, it's instant justice. When someone offends us, it's instant justice. I have seen so many people raked over the coals on social media. I've seen so many restaurants raked over the coals on social media. A store, a circumstance, a team, a situation, a church, a pastor, a school, because you didn't like something so small and insignificant, and all of a sudden it was okay because you get justification from the court of public opinion, and I'm offended. I'm justified. I am righteously offended. A guy flipped me off. I am in the car endangering other lives, and I need to tell people now. People need to know that I am offended. I'm offended. And can I just say something? If you are on a continuous search to be offended, you will always find what you're looking for. If you are on a continuous search to be offended, you will always find what you're looking for. There's a person that no longer goes to church here that was just looking for a reason. She sat right back there in the back row. I know it. She would come in here every Sunday morning, and she would sit on her phone right here. And you might be watching right now, but you were offended. And you're probably offended now, and I'm okay with that. But she would sit right here in the front row and say that this was a clique. No one would talk to her, but all she would do is sit on her phone and do this the whole thing. No one talks to me. And because no one talks to me, I'm offended. And I'm so offended that I can't be in this place with you. I can no longer worship God because you offended me. Well, get in line. People are going to offend you. People are going to let you down. I will offend you. I will let you down. The person sitting next to you is imperfect, flawed. We are a church of imperfect people. And just wait in line. If you want to keep looking for a reason to be offended, you will always find what you are looking for. Am I saying anything that you understand? And understand this. No one Nobody has ever won in life by choosing to be offended. My life isn't richer. My relationships aren't better. My marriage is not greater when I choose to be offended. My children aren't better when I choose to be offended. God isn't greater when I choose to be offended. In fact, the opposite happens. And yet, it's like the simplest things. We know the answer. No one ever wins with drugs, but we still have a drug problem in our county. No one ever wins being offended, but we still have an offensive problem in our county and in our church. Your life is too short and your calling is too great to be offended by something so small. Your life is too great. Your calling is too good for you to be offended by something so small. Your life is short. And Proverbs talks about this very topic. Proverbs chapter 19, verse 11. A person's wisdom yields patience. A person's wisdom yields patience. And there's some men in this room saying, well, my wife says I'm not wise. She could be right. That's why it says a person's wisdom, not your wisdom. No. A person's wisdom yields patience. It is to one's glory to overlook an offense. It is to one's glory, it is to your glory to overlook an offense. When you have been offended and you overlook it, it's not to their glory. When you've been offended by someone in life, when someone offends you and cuts you off, when someone offends you and whatever, shorts you change or makes you mad or doesn't mow the strip of grass next to your house or whatever, when you overlook an offense, it is to your glory, not theirs. Not theirs. We have to be willing to get to a point in our life where we can just say, hey, I'm over it. I'm over it. It's not a game changer. I am over it. Look to someone sitting next to you right now. Look to the person on your left, to your right, in front of you, behind you, and just say the words. Just say the words, I'm over it. Do it. Come on. I'm over it. And what I want us to do is this. This series is called The Grudge. And what I want us to do is get over the grudge. Get over the grudge that we have in our life. Get over the grudge. So how do you grow past all the daily temptations that offend us? How do we get over that? How do we build a bridge and get over it? Like, how do we do it? Get over it. Get over it. Move on. How do we close the gap that we have in our life with love? How do we get over it? How do we close this gap with love? If we look here in Proverbs again, going back to God's little fortune cookies, Proverbs chapter 10, verse 12, it says, hatred stirs up conflict, but love, what does love do? It covers over all wrongs. It covers over all wrongs. And I know there's some people in this room going, but Shane, what about fill in the blank? Because my wrong is different than everyone else's wrong. Because the wrong that happened to me was so much worse than someone else's wrong. Shane, you don't understand the wrong that has been done to me. You don't understand, Shane. I can't just get over it. It's caused anxiety. It's caused depression. It's caused fear. It's caused animosity. It's caused bitterness. It's caused just whatever. You're right. I don't understand it. And these aren't my words. Take heart, take solace in that. Hatred stirs up conflict. And if we continue to allow hate to manifest itself, if we continue to allow hate to continue to drive itself deeper and deeper and deeper into the wounds that we have in our life, it causes cancer. But love. So those moments, I like big butts. Thank God for that. But, good job, Dylan. But love covers, this might be a whole series we got coming. Thank God for that but. Remember that one. That was good. But. Hatred stirs up conflict, but love covers all wrongs. but love covers all wrongs. And there's a dynamic that exists in every interaction, and we rarely recognize it. There's a dynamic that exists in every interaction, and we hardly see it because we have this brief moment in every interaction. There's this gap, there's this little moment, there's this little second where we have a conscious decision, where we have a choice, where hiding God's word in our heart overcomes our brain. There's this little moment where this gap happens and we have the choice to react. You know what I'm talking? Like, have you ever had one of those moments where you're like, help me, God. Get thee behind me, Satan. I've hidden your word in my heart that I might not sin against you. Whatever. You have these moments. There's this little gap that exists, and we have to choose what we put in the gap. In fact, we don't have to choose. We get to choose. We get to choose what we put in the gap and how we react. We get to choose. Think about that for just a moment. We have the freedom to choose how we react. Are we going to put ourselves in a prison of bitterness and anxiousness and frustration and depression and anxiety? Are we going to put ourselves in that moment of this prison of offense? Or do we get to choose what to put in the gap? Like, give you an example. Like, you're in traffic, and my wife is always my verbal conscience. Someone cuts you off in traffic and someone flips you off. They flip you the bird. They tell you you're number one. They tell you to read between the lines. They tell you to peel the banana, whatever, however you want to say it. They tell you to do. You have this choice in how you react. Do we just go like snap, pop? We don't even take time to crackle? Like, do we just go straight to it? And go, oh, I've been waiting for this all day. I hate my boss. I'm frustrated with my kids. I'm frustrated with, you don't even know who you don't even know. And it could really have nothing to do with that person, that moment where we live so offended, we live so conflicted, we live so angry, we live so bitter, we live so justifiably angry and frustrated and mad that you're just waiting the moment to snap, pop. I've hidden your word in my heart that I might not sin against you. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Jesus saved you today. You may not know Jesus, but he just saved you. You have this action, this micro moment, this gap. But here's the problem. You have this moment in life where you can do something about it, but us as humans, us as men, us as women, us as people that live in Southwest Missouri, the show me state of the world in the Bible Belt, we are horrible interpreters of moments. We're horrible at it. Because life is so frustrating, life is so overwhelming, life has put us in such a moment, our circumstances are so grim, we are so frustrated with life, we are so angry, we've been Chiefs fans, maybe that finally has let off. Maybe now we can be kinder to people because I don't know. But has anyone in your life ever misinterpreted what you have said or done? Has anyone ever been misinterpreted? Have you ever said something or put something out into the world? Have you ever put something out into social media? Have you ever said something and it was misinterpreted and people, all of a sudden, they took offense to what you said and it wasn't the way you meant it at all? And now you're having to play cleanup and now you're having to clean up a mess and now you're having to do damage control in your life. Like, wait. Have you ever had that happen, men, in your relationships with your wives? Do not answer that question out loud right now. It's just a rhetorical question. I want you to understand this. Men, I'm talking to you. Do not even shake, don't look, don't move, but you know it's happened. Just blink. I know I'm talking to you, Dusty. I know it. I know I'm talking to you, Sam. Sam, just look straight ahead. But you have these moments where anything that you say or do is misinterpreted. And you know what else is misinterpreted? You don't even have to say anything. Sometimes the lack of saying something is misinterpreted. Like this is Sam. Sam's like, what did I say? It's not what you said, Sam. It's what you didn't say. You had the opportunity to say something and you didn't say it. Now what you say can't erase what you didn't say. Have you ever... am I talking to you? Don't say it, Sam. Don't agree. What? I've been there. Like, I'm just... And men, we're guilty too. When we don't feel appreciation, when we don't feel loved, when we don't feel honored, when we don't feel respected, it gets misinterpreted, and it's not something that was meant the way that you're taking it. The problem is we are horrible interpreters. And when we are misinterpreted, then we're like, no, that's not what I meant. How could you ever think that about me? That's not it. Why would I ever say that? Why would you think that I ever thought that? I thought we were good. As a church, I thought we were good. Why would you ever think that I felt that way? Why would you say, what's going on? Why would you feel that? And this is called something. It's called the fundamental attribution error. The fundamental attribution error. The bias to attribute our own behavior to our own circumstances. You see, we're willing to look at our life and our own behavior, and we know the why behind the what. And we know our own circumstances, and so because of that, we're willing to look past things in our own life. But while we attribute someone else's actions to their character. So we can look at the goofy, the bad, the frustrating, the offenses in our life and go, why would they think that? They need to understand what I'm going through. They need to understand what I'm going through. My mom's sick. My kids are failing. The bills are going to the roof, whatever. I got laundry to do. The car just keeps wrecking. The heater needs to be replaced. The dishwasher's broken. And we look at our circumstances and we forgive ourselves. But when someone else does the same exact offense, you will apply that to their character and go, no, they're just rotten to the core. They're just bad people. The fundamental attribution error. We're willing to look at our own circumstances, the why behind the what, but not someone else's. If I did something to disappoint you, there's a reason. There's a reason. Please give me a break. Please forgive me. You should know my heart. But if you did something offensive, that's your character. You're a mean, rude, ridiculous person, and you need some Jesus. I'm just here in Beverly. Think about this. You ever have your kid throw a fit in a public place? I realize that they're 17. But have you ever been in a public place and your kid throws a fit? And you'll look at that situation and you'll be like, you start making excuses. You're like, oh, please, I'm so sorry. He hasn't had a nap today. I'm so sorry. So much red dye. They didn't get any iPhone internet in the car. So please. Chick-fil-A took 5 minutes. Just give us a break. You start doing that. But someone else's kid starts throwing a fit in the store. What are we doing? Like, oh my God, these are horrible parents. Sweet Jesus. Somebody, please shut that kid up. Like we're all of a sudden, we're not willing to look at, I wonder if they've got a fever. I wonder what's going on. I wonder what's going on in their life. We're not willing to think about the circumstances. All we're willing to think about is what's going on right now. And it is offending me. I'm trying to have a meal. I'm trying to have dinner with my wife. I'm offended because of your lack of character. You ever been that way? I remember being scared to death to fly with our children because I knew how it was going to go. I love these little kits that you see like on Pinterest and stuff. It's like if you know you're going to fly with a newborn, take a bag of snacks and earplugs for everybody else and give them a note saying, I'm sorry ahead of time. That's good. I promise I'm not a bad parent. I just have a bad child. Forgive me. I know it. You're about to know it. We're working on it. Jesus died for him too. If you cut someone off in traffic, we're so quick to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Like, I'm so sorry. You just want forgiveness instantly. Like, you know what I'm like? Sometimes you cut someone off. Like if I cut someone off, I feel horrible. And then I'll like wait till they come up next to me. And then you're like, the windows are down. You're like, and they're driving by going. And we do the same thing when someone cuts us off and maybe they didn't see it. We're not willing to go, oh, it was an accident. We're like, you jerk. I've got to be somewhere. I've got to go somewhere. Every once in a while, we're like, it's cool. I've got my conscience sitting in the front car, Julie saying, Shane. It's okay. It's okay. And I'll look at her like, you want some too? It's not okay. You're next. Someone cuts you off, they're possessed by Satan, and they deserve to go to the pit of hell. Like, that's just the way it is. Like, it's the first amen we've had in 4 weeks, and that's where it happens. But professional drivers back there, I can understand. Professional drivers, not race car trucks. But my point is this, is there's always a gap. There's always a moment. There's always a gap. There's always a moment where we have the choice to fill in that gap. We have the choice to fill in that gap, and how do we fill the gap? Because what the devil wants you to do, the devil wants you to fill those gaps with accusations. He wants to fill your head with lies and deceits because he's clever. Any brief moment that he can take to just confuse you, frustrate you, anger you, and it's not just with strangers, it's with your children, it's with your spouse, it's with your in-laws, it's with your boss, it's with your friends, it's with your closest confidants, it's with your lifting partner, it's with your sparring partner, it's with whatever you want to say, it's there. The devil wants to fill those gaps with accusations. Because here's what happens. When we can think about that, we're like, oh my gosh, what a frustrating person. She's just all about herself. Does she even care about our relationship? Does she even know? Everything's about her. He doesn't care about me anyway. I can't trust. No one's close. I can't get close to. I can't trust anybody anymore. It just wants to fill you up with accusations. Because here's what accusations do. Accusations have the ability to be a cancer that erodes things. Accusations erode marriages. Accusations split friendships. Accusations destroy churches. Accusations destroy lives. No wrong has to happen. No wrong has to happen. You just need to believe that it happened. You just need to believe that it happened. If the enemy can allow you and make you trust him and believe that, the cancer is set in. And this is why Proverbs says God wants you to fill those gaps with love. Proverbs says that God wants you to fill those gaps with love. Proverbs chapter 17, verse 9. Whoever would foster love covers over an offense, but whoever repeats the matter separates close friends. Let love cover the gap. Let love manifest. Let love cover our shortcomings. Let love cover. Because here's what love does. Love gives benefit of the doubt. Love trusts the other person. Love assumes the best. Love believes in the other person. We all have moments in our life where this can happen. We all have moments where this can happen. And this can happen so often in my wife and I's life. My wife will drop something, just a comment in complete innocence, but it's all in the way how I interpret or receive it. She'll come home and be like, hey, Shane, did you get to the trash today? And I'll look at that and I'll be like, excuse me? What did you just say? Do you even know what's going on in my life right now? Do you even know the pressure that I'm under? Do you think I'm lazy? Like, why would you think that about me? In the meantime, she's just like, I just know you forget stuff a lot, Shane. I'm just calling a spade a spade. It's nothing else. Nothing at all was meant by that. And then she'll look at me and she'll be like, I'm sorry. I am sorry. And it's in that moment that I realize, uh-oh, I let the enemy win. Have you ever had these moments? Have you ever had one of these moments in your life with a coworker, with a spouse, with a child? And just the littlest thing that was seeming so innocent, and I know my wife's going to look at me later this week, and she's going to look at me later this month, and she'll be like, remember what you said? And I give you all authority. And I don't mean that as a joke. Because, folks, I'm your pastor sitting up here, and I struggle with this too. I struggle with this too. Because love was just curious if you remember to take it out. That's it. Sometimes we text a friend, and we get no response, and we wonder why. Oh, now you think you're too good for me? You don't have time for me. I see you have time for everybody else, but you don't have time for me. You can't respond back to me. What's going on? Why would you do that? No, that's not what love does. Love trusts. Love believes. You know what? Maybe they're busy. Maybe their phone was dead. Maybe they're like Shane and they just forgot. That's what love does. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 2. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in what? Love. And because of the love that you have, we have to be willing to make allowances for other people in their life. Because that's what God did. God forgave you, and God forgives others. And life isn't all about you. The frustrating things that other people are dealing with in their life isn't always about you. Because they didn't text back, it wasn't because of you. Because they were frustrated in a moment and you were offended because of their frustration, it really wasn't about you. And we don't need to take that offense and apply it to our life and say, oh, they have a bad character. The edge that they had in their voice, the shortness, the careless driving that they had, it wasn't really about you. But maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe they're distracted. Maybe they've received bad news in their life. Maybe they're fighting a battle. And instead of that being something that's an offense, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity, and instead of being offended, to look at that and say, what's going on? What's going on? Because none of us are perfect. And we want others to give us the benefit of the doubt in our lives. And we have to be willing to do the same for others. But then some of you are like, well, what if they're just intentionally, blatantly hurtful and rude and jerks? You have to understand this. Hurt people are going to hurt people. Hurt people are going to hurt people, and I've said it 1,000 times, and it still is true today as it was the first time I ever said it. Hurt people will hurt people, and that person is probably going through something. And I want you to understand something, that if you want to make a difference in the world, if you're out to make a difference in someone else's life, if you want to change the world, people are not going to like you. You're going to be too positive. You're going to be too loving. You're going to be too kind. There's people that they just can't handle it. There's people that won't like you because you want to change things. Be the change that you want to see. Make allowances. You have to understand. You have to wonder what people are going through. Hurt people will hurt people. But instead of choosing to be offended by someone, choose to have compassion. In that gap, in that moment, we can fill that gap with offense, or we can fill that gap with compassion. How do we do that? How do we do that? How do we make allowances because of the love in our heart? Proverbs chapter 19, verse 11. A person's wisdom yields patience. It is to one's glory to overlook an offense. A person's wisdom yields patience. What does it mean to overlook an offense? What does it mean to overlook an offense, Shane? Because overlooking an offense doesn't mean pretending that it never happened. Okay, I don't want you to think right now, like, so you want me to just walk around and just acting like the world's perfect, Shane, because it's not. No, not at all. Not at all. Overlooking an offense isn't the same as pretending it didn't happen. It's a conscious decision to let it go. It's a form of forgiveness. Forgiving something means recognizing and identifying that something happened. I know that this happened. I know that you did this against me, and I choose to forgive you. The Hebrew word for this is avor, which means to pass over. Instead of focusing on an offense and dwelling over it and replaying it in our mind and magnifying it, which is what so many of us do, we can't let it go, and it just keeps playing over and over and over in our mind. And the offenses that happen to us, we just keep reliving them, and the scab keeps getting ripped off, and we keep living it over and over and over because we're obsessive, and that obsessive becomes compulsive, and then it becomes something that we can't get over. Avor. Choose to pass over it. I'm over it. I'm over it. In fact, say the words with me right now. Say the words. Look at someone sitting next to you and say, I'm over it. Say it. I'm over it. Say it. I'm over it. I'm over it. It's about to get good right here. The devil wants you to lower yourself to the offenses in your life. But God wants to lift you over the offenses in your life. The devil wants you to lower you to the weaknesses. The devil wants to lower you to the things that are his schemes, that are his problems, that are his frustrations, his tricks. He wants to lower you those things so that you would squalor and you would wallow in the mud, in the muck, in the mire. But God says, I came that you would have life, and I want to lift you out of it and above it. I want to lift you over it. So your coworkers don't invite you to the public gathering that they're having with everybody else. Okay, I'm over it. It's okay. Someone makes a rude comment on your social media about your political beliefs, about your religion, about the way you love, about the way you dress, about the team that you like, about the food that you ate, about the trip that you took, about the way you spent your money, about the car you drive, about whatever. Okay, I'm over it. I'm over it. Your mother-in-law corrects the way that you parent your kids. You fight that crap, all right? No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. No. Be over it. I'm over it. Over it. What we have to be willing to do is have real-time forgiveness in our life. Real-time forgiveness. God, I'm going to hide your word in my heart that I might not sin against you. I have to do that, God, because otherwise everything else will fill in the blank, and they're usually 4-letter words, and they're not good. Don't lower yourself. Be over it. It's a good 4-letter word. Over it. I'm over it. Son, over it. Mother, over it. Holy, over it. Put good stuff in there. Words are just words. Put good stuff in there. Have real-time forgiveness because it's to your glory and it honors God. And your calling in life is to love and represent Jesus, not to fall victim to the schemes of the enemy. Our calling is to love and represent Jesus, and nobody ever is going to change the world by walking around bitter. No one's going to change anything by walking around bitter. Don't let something small take you off of the mission to love others and serve Jesus. Don't let something small and insignificant take you off of your mission to love others and serve Jesus. Because the enemy is prowling, sneaking around, looking for any opportunity, looking for any crack in your foundation, looking for any moment for you to be offended, looking for any moment to just sneak in. Just say, are you going to let them say that? Are you going to let them do that? You're just going to let them cut you off? You're just going to let them ignore you? You're going to let your wife say that about you? That's disrespect. You're going to let your children talk to you that way? You're going to let your coworkers do that? You're going to let your boss treat you that way? Really? I thought you were a man of honor. I thought you were a man of respect. I'm over it. We cannot let something so small and insignificant take ourselves off the mission to love others and serve Jesus. When Jesus came, his mission was all about love. His entire mission on the earth was to show the love of the Father. And if we are to be like Christ, we are to walk in the same manner. We are to walk in the same manner and be ambassadors of heaven, because the calling ahead of me is greater than the offenses behind me. The calling ahead of me is greater than the offenses behind me. The calling ahead of me, God, what you would do with my life, the witness, the testimony that I have in my life is greater than the offenses behind me that are beneath me. Because, God, you have raised me up and you have lifted me over it. You have taken me out of my circumstances. You have lifted me out of my plight. You have removed me from such things, God, because that's what I prayed that you would do. Why is it that I choose to return to the vomit? Why is it that I choose to go back to what I asked that you would remove me from? Why do we want to go back to familiar surroundings? You still have a calling from God, and my calling from God allows me to elevate, to lift out of what it is that God has removed me from. And we can't allow ourselves to be lowered to the offenses that we have in our life. We have to get over it and close the gap with love. And instead of choosing to be offended, we must choose to have compassion for. The devil wants to fill the gaps with accusations. We need to fill the gaps in our life with love. The devil wants us to fill the gaps in our life with accusations. But we need to fill the gaps in our life with love. And I want everybody to look at me for just a minute. Teenagers, right over here, look at me. Young people, look at me. Old people, look at me. Married people, look at me. You, right now, are being talked to. You, right now, have the opportunity to choose to hear these words and not be offended by them, but allow it to lift you out, to lift you up, and take you over something that is meant to be a stumbling block, that is meant to be a speed bump in your life. What is there in your life that you need to forgive? What are the offenses in your life that you need to forgive amongst others, amongst coaches, amongst teachers, amongst coworkers, amongst somebody? Some of you are in that gap right now, and we need to have real-time forgiveness. We need to have real-time forgiveness. And we need to choose compassion over accusations. We need to choose compassion over accusation. In our marriages, in our friendships, in our work, in our ministry. We must extend grace and do what it is that Jesus did for us. The calling in your life is too great to be offended by something so small. The calling in your life is too great to be offended by something so small. Let's pray.